this is Huw here, co-founder and CEO at Ozone API, and I am delighted today to be joined by Bryn. Bryn, thank you for joining us. Maybe you can start by sort of a quick intro and also telling us a little bit about the Smart Data Foundry.
Yep, no worries. Thanks, Huw. So I'm Bryn Coulthard, Chief Product and Technology Officer at Smart Data Foundry. Smart Data Foundry have been around for a couple of years now. I'm a kind of subsidiary and a spin-off from Edinburgh University, focused on a couple of primary areas, supporting research and insight and helping governments and academics drive kind of research, but all of it around financial services data. So how do we open up financial services data and make that available for the kind of greater good? And that takes us into that kind of open banking space, and how do we support that? And then on the other side, we do a lot of work around innovation, so partnering with you guys on the innovation standards, the global atlas and stuff like that, and then also doing a lot of work around synthetic data and how we can enable companies, banks, regulators to drive innovation through synthetic data.
Fantastic, thanks, Bryn. And obviously, we've been working together for a little while now on the global open data tracker and the atlas. So and it is a increasingly global landscape we're looking at when it comes to open banking and open finance, which is why we started working on this together. So maybe I'd be really interested to get your perspectives on what do you think is the most interesting thing you're seeing in the open finance space at the moment?
Yeah, I think, there's obviously lots going on internationally. I think PSD3 is starting to interest me. It seems like they're starting to kind of circle the drain on what the future might look like. And there's obviously, they're proposing a fairly big switch from guidance to regulation. And it does feel that Europe has underperformed in open banking compared to the UK since it kind of came out 2018. And that, I suspect, is very much to do with the kind of differing legislation across different countries and how they've done that. So I think, the power of the kind of a single European set of regulation could really drive open banking, open finance globally, because it would give you that kind of mass momentum that would make it a lot easier for fintechs to enter the market and make it a lot easier for organizations to consume that and for individuals to understand that. So I think PSD3, as it starts to come through over the next year or so and get implemented over the next couple of years after that, very interesting. And then I think, the US finally kind of put a stake in the ground over the last month or so as to what they are doing there. And, I spent quite a bit of time working in the US market, and the open banking approach there has been very market led. And, there is a great deal of activity in that space, but it's not so much focused around the consumer. And I think, the regulation will make it much more kind of consumer in control of that. And I think that could be an interesting kind of evolution of the open banking, open finance opportunities in the US.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I mean, I think we have two huge regions there, sort of US and Europe, where, we're about to see some, I guess, hopefully transformational change. Had recently had some of these same conversations with A.L. Sivan, Mr. Open Banking, and Don Cardinal from FDX, and we've talked a lot about what's coming in the US, and I think there's still quite a lot to play out in terms of exactly how implementation will work. But effectively, there's 10,000 banks there that are going to have to work out how do they deliver open APIs rather than just being connected to by these aggregators. So, I mean, we're certainly really excited about the opportunity. And I agree with you. I think Europe has probably underwhelmed so far in terms of the approach to open banking, but a more I guess a clearer regulation. I still think one of the things that's missing is strong standards with conformance requirements around it. But I think change is coming. Now, one of the things, you guys are the Smart Data Foundry. One of the things we hear about an awful lot in the UK is smart data and this potential for a world beyond the current open banking scope. I'd be interested in your perspectives around kind of where do you think we are on that journey? How realistic is this, and what might we expect next?
No, it's a great question. I think there's a lot in the go. So I'm working with CFIT, so Centre for Finance for Innovation and Technology, on open finance just now. Smart Data Foundry have just started doing some work with Department of Business and Trade around smart data. And I think all of that is that kind of evolutionary journey from open banking and beyond. I think there's some real interesting opportunities there, but equally there's some massive challenges. And I kind of constantly look back at Pensions Dashboard as to how hard this could be. You know, that's been around almost as long as open banking in terms of a desire and kind of legislation, but it's still not kind of made it there through an implementation stage. And I think that shows the challenge when you move beyond that kind of everyday transactional banking and move out into the kind of savings, investments, pensions and beyond. And I think smart data ultimately feels like it's an extension of that journey and will bring a similar set of challenges as, do people have credentials? Do they have interest? Where are the compelling use cases? And then obviously the complexity of that data sharing, and that you're going to be spanning regulators, spanning organizations, is going to get kind of massively significant. But I think, you know, there are some real opportunities there. And we talked about things like conveyancing and how do you speed up things like house purchases. You know, there's so many opportunities. I think, you know, utilities, utility consumption, moving to worlds like, you know, insurance as you need it on a kind of per product basis and stuff like that. There's so many opportunities, I think, when you get into the smart data space about what are people doing and how do we support that with a wider ecosystem. I think there's some great opportunities to come, but, you know, Pensions Dashboard kind of keeps dragging me back to, this will not be straightforward.
Well, it's a great example around all of the complexity with sort of conveyancing and moving house. I moved house in the summer, and it is one of the most inefficient processes you can imagine. So, I mean, there are so many use cases. I agree, where the potential of secure consent-based data access could unlock so much value. I think one of the challenges is, just getting the various different regulators to move in unison. I mean, we've got a huge amount of goodwill and committees and all sorts of things around JROC and defining the future entity in the next stage. I'm going to be interested to see how concrete the recommendations and the moves are, because I think just coordinating so many people and so many different perspectives and so many different regulators is really hard. So I think you've touched on some interesting barriers there. But I guess forward looking though, what are the things that you're excited about in the next say 12, 18 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, post JROC, there's obviously some stuff coming out in the open banking space. It'd be interesting to see where variable recurring payments lands up in the UK, and, you know, the new payments architecture that's coming through. Where does that sit next to things like direct debits? Is that genuinely a kind of a move and an evolution? I think, you know, some stuff coming through there with the kind of emerging open banking, open finance at the same time as the new payments architecture, I think creates a lot of opportunities for those two to kind of come together quite well. I think we all know the FCA and the PSR work very closely together, so I wouldn't be surprised to see quite a kind of integrated set of legislation and ambition there, which is great. And then, you know, I think we do quite a lot of work with the FCA. I'm always encouraged by the level of innovation they're trying to drive as a regulator. It's not every regulator that does that. I think they're creating some good opportunities in the UK, both for the banks and for smaller fintechs to be able to get involved and get access to the FCA as a regulator and to some of the technical capabilities that they offer as well.
Yeah, no, I think there's some interesting stuff been happening. I know you guys have been involved in a lot of the sprints and the innovation as well to bring the rich synthetic data. So no, I'm certainly going to be interested to see what happens over the next year or so. But listen, Bryn, thank you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, Bryn.